Good morning, everyone. This morning we are talking about on the subject of God's wisdom versus man's wisdom. So we are looking at the state of what happens when a man's own carnal mind is left in control and not God. When a man walks away from God, the state that he gets into. We look in Romans 1:21. It states, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. So, so they were people who once knew God, but when they did know him, they did not honor him as God. Consequently, something would take place of God in their life. They became prideful people. They became unthankful. Their heart was darkened as a result of trusting in man's wisdom and not God's. They allowed darkness to influence their mind. Darkness began to take control in their mind. It began to take root in their mind and would eventually take over. They began to give their mind to vain and useless thoughts. Their mind was given over to endless nonsense. Their mind went into a state of darkness. Their mind would go into a state of confusion. They lost their way in life. They forgot God, whom they once served, and they began to make foolish decisions. In Romans 1:22, it says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. So they professed themselves to be wise, but God did not profess them to be wise. Pride had blinded their hearts. They could see the speck of sawdust in another person's eyes, but they could not see the giant log that was in their own eyes. So pride causes a person to see the smallest of faults in other people, but they can easily overlook the major faults that are in their own life. Paul told the Corinthians, knowledge puffs up, but love edifies, meaning that knowledge will puff up self, but love will build up others. Love will build up the church. So they were wise in their own eyes, but not in God's eyes. The carnal mind, that's what shows the state of depravity that the carnal mind will lead you into. Romans 1:23, and they changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and to creeping things. How far they fell. They went from worshiping God to worshiping idols. They began to worship images which were made by their own hands. They worshiped images of men. They worshiped images of birds. They worshiped images of four-legged animals, and they even worshiped images of insects. But I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, that only God is divine. Men are not divine. Men are never to be worshiped. Men are mortal beings. God created men. Men are created by God to serve God, not to be gods. So they began to worship objects and not God. They began to worship man-made objects that had no breath in them, had no soul, had no life. So this shows the depraved state of the human mind can go into when the flesh is left in control and not the spirit. Thank you very much.